welcome to Varn Blog, and today I'm going to explain to you why we affiliated with the Emancipation Network and what that means, and what our sister shows are doing, and what other things we do at Emancipation. So to do that, I'm actually going to go take us to the site. So you will find this at emancipation.network. That's where it's at. And you will see we have 6 podcasts, but let's talk about the mission of the Emancipation Network. It's a Marxist podcast network and research collective. It is not sectarian. And I'm not even sure that all of us are, formally speaking, Marxist at this time. We have some commitments in common, which is we all believe in something like socialism, but no specific ideology, no specific methodology, no specific frame of reference. Our aim is to make radical education accessible outside the academy, to compel and disseminate materials to further Marxism as a viable inquiry and action. Without understanding today, we'll never see tomorrow. So the Emancipation Network aims to educate. We view what we do as political adjacent more than politics itself, because we realize that commentary, even education, raising awareness, these are not things that will necessarily do anything politically. You have to use them. So let's talk about what we have here. First off, we have from Alpha to Omega. Now, I've worked with Tom O'Brien, the podfather of from Alpha to Omega, for off and on for about 9 years. I think my first appearance on that show was probably around 2012, 2013. It's one of the older left-wing podcasts, you know, from like the first and second generation left-wing podcast, and predates the Emancipation Network. After we founded the Emancipation Network as a research collective, and that collective did a regular reading group, we invited Tom on, and Tom brought his expertise. Now, Tom interviews experts on complexity science, politics, economics, geopolitics, anthropology. Ecology was one of his early focuses. Tom O'Brien is very, very interested in making sure that the debates around the socialist left and around empirical understandings, the way it relates to science and geopolitics, are answered. It's a very similar perspective to mine. Then we have General Intellect Unit. That's Kyle and Shane, and they look at the intersections of technology, left politics, philosophy, with specific sub-focuses on things like cybernetics, the development of socialist theory, the relationship between science and council communism. Those are kinds of topics going to show up on General Intellect Unit. It is one of the most unique podcasts in the left podcast sphere, and we do other work. Then we have Swampside Chats. Swampside Chats also predates Emancipation Network. It's had a rotating cast of characters, but right now it's Ezra and Jake, and they talk about current events, history, political economy, and theory. Right now, they're mostly going through a lot of books. Sometimes I show up on that podcast to talk about conservative and reactionary thinkers on part of their Enemy Camp series, but I'm not the only person to do so. And let me show you what they look like. So you see here, this is from Alpha to Omega. You can actually see various all kinds of things here. So we have the reading group live streams, which actually show up elsewhere, and then Tom cleans them up and puts them out in part of a series. He also does various interviews. So he's had a series on anthropology, critiquing and dealing with David Graeber, and also talking with Arnold of the Fight Like an Animal podcast. And we are currently, actually, and I take part in this, going through the works of E.O. Wright's Understanding Class. So you can see where we're going through over there from Alpha to Omega. At General Intellect Unit, they're going through Stanford Beer's Brain of the Firm, also going through Kentucky Route Zero, which is a game, doing close readings of the cybernetic theory. They've also done readings on ecological Marxism, and they release weekly. It's good stuff, and lots of good listening there. Swampside is going through the principles of of Communist Production Distribution, which is a classic Council Communist text. They've also done a series on really existing nationalisms. They did a critique of the meaning of self. And then they have a Leviathan and its enemies. So there you go. You can find that on SoundCloud too. Sister show Jump to Utopia is a understanding the utopian elements of Star Trek, and right now they're going through Discovery. It's our most pop culture focused show over at the Emancipation Network. And then we have Mortal Science, which is the one I do with Esri of Swampside and Jumpsuit Utopia fame. Esri and I actually explore deeply into Marxist and Marxist adjacent theories of what radical politics is. And again, our concern is its actual intersection as a research project and what relationship it has to science. We've done a series on Avishai Margolit's betrayal. We've done dives into various explainers on what Marxism is, and we've talked about the null hypothesis. We release monthly, and soon we'll be starting a long series on Endnotes for a history of separation. And that means, see, I think I've covered everybody there. Nope. Sorry, guys. And that leaves the Varn blog, which if you're already here, you know what it is. And we discuss, philosophy, history, art, geopolitics, political economy, and anything else that might come up. And we're our format is more like From Alpha to Omega. We're an interview show. I live stream on Mondays and Wednesdays, as you know, if you're already here. But if you're coming to me from another Emancipation Network channel, that's where you go. Now, how do you find this from my channel? It's pretty easy. Let's go to my channel. And you'll see here, we have a link to the Patreon. We have a link to my Facebook. We have a link to the podcast feed. There is a podcast version of Varn blog. We've got one episode up already. But this last link here is how you find the Emancipation Network. And if you like what I do, check out our sister shows. Now let's talk about a little bit about what Emancipation Network does outside of the podcast, because we actually are a research collective. We will try to model and empirically test claims of mathematical Marxology. That's what Esri and Tom really specialize in. GIU crew does a lot with trying to facilitate unilateral, vertical communication and teaming to get work done. And occasionally Esri and I will put together communist readers where we take free text available and make readers out of them so people can learn the history of the textual tradition around issues of communism. And there's a few of those available on the Facebook site. And you can find that Facebook site right here. You probably have to go pretty far back though to find them now, but they are there. And last but not least, we also offer our original project, which was here in the archive, and you can find in the Internet Archive the 5 sessions of the original Emancipation team. Unfortunately, some of the people who were originally part of the founding of this group are no longer with us here. They've gone off to different projects, but you can listen to the first 5 episodes here where we talked about different themes around key questions of Marxism that were unclear. And there are 5 episodes you can find here. They're in the Internet Archive, so they're not lost to history. So that's what we offer here in the Emancipation Network. But that brings me back to why we're a part of it here at Varn blog. Now, I'm a co-founder of the original network. It actually comes out of a history that about 5 of us who left from a small communist sectarian organization in 2015 and 2015 set together to do a research blog and magazine on key issues of communism, starting on the history of programs. And from that, we started doing a regular discussion group. We invited Tom O'Brien, and multiple podcasts were involved, and the research collective was born. So I've been there from the beginning. We were unsure if we were going to incorporate Varn blog, but I went to the collective, which is collectively run. We did a vote, and now we're here. And I really think you will be interested in what goes on those other podcasts if you're not already familiar with them. There'll also be joint streams and stuff for everyone to take part in over at Emancipation Network. And with that, we're over and out.